You're listening to Big World Network.
Accidental Passion, Episode 9, The Massage, read by Meagan Hedin. Warning: although there is no material subject matter within that couldn't be found in any general bookstore with no age constraint, this series is rated 18 and contains adult situations and content. It is intended for mature audiences only and should not be read if you are uncomfortable with graphic sexual intimacy. It felt good to be around Mary again, and, within minutes of her arrival, all of the anxiety Alicia had felt before was gone. She immediately felt comfortable around Mary and at ease, despite the unspoken potential of more than a friendship. After about an hour of chatting and sharing 2 glasses of white wine each, Mary asked, "How are you doing with the immobility?" "It's frustrating," Alicia admitted. "Taking a shower tonight with my leg wrapped in a plastic bag was no easy task, I'll tell you that. And being confined to laying down or sitting down with my leg propped up most of the time has not been comfortable. I'm just not used to that, and every bone and muscle in my body aches." It was very true. She was usually a very fit and active person, running and swimming every day after work at the dental office. Now she was sore and stiff, leaving her truly miserable. "I miss your massages from when I was in the hospital," she added. "It's time I gave you a proper one then. I can't even begin to imagine how much your muscles must ache," Mary answered sympathetically. Alicia flushed at the thought of Mary's hands on her again, but, given the state of her aching, she was hardly in a position to argue, not that she really wanted to argue anyway. Mary helped her into the apartment bedroom. As they were both standing beside Alicia's bed, Mary put her hands on Alicia's waist and pulled her t-shirt over her head. "Let's do this right," she said, helping Alicia pull the loose sweatpants she was wearing down her hips before sitting her down on the edge of the bed. Mary then pulled the sweatpants over Alicia's cast and off, leaving her in just a bra and panties. It was funny, Alicia thought, but she didn't even feel the least bit uncomfortable or self-conscious being undressed by Mary. Maybe it was the time she had spent being taken care of by her in the hospital. Or maybe it was more. "Let me cover you on the bed with a sheet, and then you can remove your bra and roll on your stomach," Mary said with a reassuring smile. "There are some spare sheets at the top shelf in that closet," Alicia said, pointing to a closet door. Mary opened the door and removed a sheet. After closing the door again, she then turned off the overhead light to the room, leaving on only a small light on the end table. Seeing a candle on top of the dresser, Mary asked, "Can I light that?" "There's matches on top beside it," Alicia answered. As Mary lit the candle, Alicia turned off the end table light, removed her bra, and laid on her stomach on the bed, pulling the beige sheet over her. The room was plenty warm and very pleasant, with soft music playing in the living room, and the candlelight was now dancing on the walls. She lay her head on a pillow and waited with her eyes closed, already feeling relaxed. She felt the weight of Mary's body settle on the bed beside her. Turning her head and positioning it comfortably on the pillow, Alicia kept her eyes closed. The first touch of Mary's hands on her neck was amazing, and she let out a long, slow sigh for the relief from her achy muscles. Mary's hands felt amazing with just the right amount of pressure, while somehow still maintaining a feeling of sensuality as she kneaded the knots Alicia had been feeling for days. As she moved her hands up to Alicia's hair and worked her scalp, Alicia felt goosebumps and an amazing shiver move through her body. She had always loved that sensation of getting her hair shampooed at the beauty salon, and was getting to experience that same feeling at the touch of Mary's hands. Removing the sheet from covering Alicia's back and one side of her bottom, Mary slid her hands down to Alicia's panties and removed them without a word. She began working her hands into Alicia's back in long strokes, moving down over her exposed cheek and back up again. It felt absolutely amazing, and Alicia was quickly becoming lost in the pleasure and sensations of Mary's hands. Eventually, Mary moved to the other side of the bed and repeated the same strokes on Alicia's left side. When Mary had finished, she covered Alicia's back and bottom up again with the sheet. Alicia then felt Mary pull the sheet up from covering her legs, also leaving the very bottom of her cheeks exposed. Mary expertly started with Alicia's feet, massaging each one completely and then moving to her ankles. Progressing next to Alicia's calves, Mary worked her fingers in, dragging them up and back down again until the muscles were completely relaxed. Alicia was truly enjoying the stimulation and sensuality of Mary's hands on her body. Next, Mary moved on to Alicia's thighs, working her hands from the back of Alicia's knees up over her thighs to the curve of her bottom, and up and around to the lower part of her back before moving down again. The sensation was amazing. Mary then focused on the outside of Alicia's thighs and hips, making the same long strokes up to her lower side. Then she began moving to the inside of her thighs. The first few strokes stopped short of reaching up between her legs, and when Mary's hands moved to the top of her inner thighs, they curved out, following the lines of her cheek and back up over her bottom to her lower back. With each stroke up, Mary's hands would venture a little farther up between Alicia's legs before tracing out around the bottom of her cheeks. Finally, Mary's fingers moved completely between Alicia's legs, sliding between them, while the tips of her fingers caused unbelievable stimulation. Alicia let out a slow moan, showing her pleasure to Mary, and not ever wanting her to stop. But Mary did stop, leaving Alicia almost frustrated. Mary got up and went into the open bathroom door, coming back out again with a clean washcloth she had found. Getting back on the bed beside Alicia, she helped roll her over and covered her with the sheet again. Taking the washcloth, Mary folded it lengthwise and laid it gently over the tops of Alicia's eyes, covering them. Mary then began reaching under Alicia's neck, massaging it once again, and working her hands back to the front of her shoulders. After several minutes of this, she pulled the sheet down, exposing Alicia's breasts. She ran her hands from Alicia's shoulders, down gently over her breasts and nipples to her lower abdomen, where the sheet was covering her hips. It was an amazing experience for Alicia, with her eyes covered, feeling another woman's hands move over her body, giving her such complete pleasure that she hadn't felt before. Being so lost in the touch of Mary's hands, suddenly feeling the light touch of Mary's lips on hers just below the cloth covering her eyes was a complete surprise, causing Alicia to let a little gasp escape. It was so tender, so amazing, not like the rougher kiss of a man. Just a simple kiss, perfect in every way. It didn't even feel taboo, but was completely natural. After pulling back to see that Alicia wasn't resistant to the kiss, Mary leaned down to her lips again, this time letting the tip of her tongue push between them. Alicia, moving her arms for the first time, brought her hands up to Mary's back as the tips of their tongues met. Mary pulled away again and took Alicia's wrists into her hands, pressing her arms back down at her side and making it clear that Alicia was to relax and not move. Mary then leaned in to lightly kiss Alicia's neck as her hands found their way back to Alicia's body, still massaging. She worked down from Alicia's neck in little kisses, over her breasts, pausing at her nipples. Finally, she worked her way down to the center of Alicia's belly, sending chills through her body. But when Mary reached a spot low beneath Alicia's navel, she stopped her downward path and moved out to the sides, kissing the top of Alicia's hip bones and down over the top of her legs. The attention was driving Alicia crazy, and she wanted to experience so much more of Mary's kisses. As if reading her thoughts, Mary began to work back up Alicia's inner thigh to between her legs. She started with multiple tender kisses all around and above Alicia's most sensitive spot, almost overwhelming her before giving more attention with all of her lips, mouth, and tongue. It was so much more than Alicia had ever experienced from any man, which was usually very mechanical, and either too rough or not enough when needed. But Mary was beyond perfect. Alicia could no longer resist and brought her hands to the top of Mary's head, running her fingers tenderly into her hair, showing her satisfaction and pleasure. She played with Mary's hair until she felt the pressure low in her belly building, then grabbed on tighter, arcing her hips and letting out a low moan as she came. Mary continued until Alicia couldn't take any more, overstimulated and completely fulfilled. Moving back up to lay on top of her, body against body, Mary once again kissed Alicia deeply, with the taste of Alicia still on her tongue. For Alicia, she had no doubt that it had been the most pleasurable experience of her sexual life. And, more importantly, for the first time she felt whole, and the emptiness that had plagued her life seemed to be lifted.
This has been a presentation of Big World Network. Visit us on BigWorldNetwork.com for more free weekly series, or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to Big World Network.